So now we have all the structure, all the RF cables and equipment and actives all designed. There are a couple reports that we need to run just to ensure that we are in compliance with all the Comcast standards. So let's go and create that boundary. And this is going to be kind of like a project boundary, but it's going to surround all the equipment that you've attached or that you've created in the structure. So to do a boundary, especially you go to the Add tab, you go under your, typically it would say building addresses, and then you go down to boundary. I'm going to go ahead and do a new build boundary because I don't believe it gives us rights if you create an agent boundary to delete. So we do have the rights to delete a new build boundary. So new build boundary it is. We don't need to fill anything out because it's temporary. Let's go and click add. And I basically just create a boundary. You can include other stuff as well, just as long as you include everything that you've done. Go up to here and hit close. Don't need to annotate it. Close here. Now that we've created it, let's go and select it. Let's go and turn off the multi-select for now. Okay, so now that's selected, if you look on your ribbon, you see a little miscellaneous option here, and I'm going to pull down that menu, and there are two reports that you should run every single time. One is, especially for RF, highlight unattached cables and highlight unattached equipment. The unattached cables lets you know that if you have any cables that is not associated to a conduit, and then the equipment lets you know if you have any tabs or terminators or actives not associated to the correct structure of the PED, the pole, the vault, etc. So let's go and run highlight unattached cables. There's this option to additional checks. You can select cables in trenches but not in ducts. We'll highlight any cables that you have associated to a conduit but not into a duct, and we do not want that. So go ahead and hit OK. Alright, so the cool thing about these reports is that it'll highlight the errors that it finds. So if you look over here, this first one here is this cable here, and say this is a small job so you can kind of see exactly where the error is, but if this was a much larger job, or if you're running a report on an entire node, sometimes it's hard to find where these errors were. So if you click on this little flashlight, you can go to zoom to, and it'll zoom to the error. So in this case, this cable is this guy right here. Now we can't fix this error because there is no structure here. This was just drafted for this training session. But if there was a piece of structure here, we would have to associate that to the structure. So we'll ignore that one. We can click here. We can zoom to this one, which is this cable here. Now we do have structure that it should be associated to, so let's go ahead and fix that. What you do is you have your multi-select on. You're going to select the structure or the conduit you want to attach the cable to. Select the cable itself, and then hit attach selected. And here we go. Let you know that you attach that to that. Hit close. Now, one thing to realize that if you do find a cable, especially an RF cable, that has not been associated to a conduit, that most likely that cable also does not have a footage, which means there's no loss associated to it. So in this case, I hovered over that cable, and you can see that the length, which is the third line down, equals 0, which that also will need to be corrected because that's going to give you a false end of line. So now that we have that selected, I'm going to go ahead and clear selection. I'm going to select the cable, I'm going to edit, and I'm going to give it that footage because right now there is no footage associated to it. So 215 apply. Hit OK. Now if I hover over this, now the length equals 215. I will have to do a RF read level, but we'll do that at the end of this session, just so I can make sure I have my end of line levels correct. Alright, so this last cable here, let's go ahead and select there and go to zoom to, appears to be this power cable. Now power cables are usually not associated to any strand unless the power supply is located a couple poles down or PEDs down, and then there's a backfeed cable that hits a power inserter. In that case, you would associate to there. But if the power supply is located at the same location as the power inserter, then there's typically no association, so that will always highlight. On a side note though, all power cables, per most Comcast market standards, should have a length of 15 feet. So if I hover over this power cable, this length is 0. So if I select the power cable, clear selection, so I only have that selected. I edit, and I'm just going to put 15 feet in here. And close. So we can't fix that error, but we were able to fix that error, so we're done with this report. So we can hit close. Alright, so let's go in clear selection, and then reselect our boundary, and let's run that second one. Highlight unattached equipment. Actually, before we run that, let's go ahead and clear this highlight first, and that is this little button right here, unhighlight. There we go. Alright, let's go back over here. Highlight unattached equipment. Okay, so just like the other report, you can use the flashlight to zoom to areas, especially if it's a large area. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to click this actually jumped right to it. Alright, so we have the, I'm assuming that this line terminator and this line terminator are the ones. So this line terminator specifically is this guy right here. So this is not associated to the structure. So in order to do that, you turn your multi-select on, select your terminator, select the pad or the whatever it's associated to, hit that, and attach entities are right there. Hit close. Now we can clear selection. Now we can click on this guy and zoom to that one, and that looks like a terminator. Now there is no structure to associate to, so we're not going to select that, and we're going to leave as is, but there should be a pad or a pole here that you would associate it to, so we'll ignore that one for now. And then this last one is a 17.4 tap, and we can click on it, and it looks like it automatically zooms to, so it's this guy. So we can clear selection, which it's already clear. Select the tap, select the pad, attach selected, let you know that you attach that to that, hit close, and we should be done with this one. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear highlight, and I'm going to rerun that report. So clear selection, select the boundary. I'm going to rerun that one. We should only have that one error left, and we do. Alright, so close, and clear selection. Okay, so those are the two main reports you can run. Now you can also run to ensure that all your attributes are correct for your equipment. If you remember in our previous session about adding RF cable, that cables need to be a certain designation, taps need to be a certain RF type designation, and what I mean there is if you select a tap and go into details, and excuse me, not details, edit, the RF tab, and the RF system network device. So this is the attribute that must be selected for taps. Now cables have a different one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear selection, select your boundary, and under the select tab here, I'm going to select all tap devices. So all my tap devices are selected. You'll know that the report's done running when the multi-edit button comes up. So I'm going to click on multi-edit. This lets you know every single tap that you have there, which is a 7.2, a 14.2, a 7.4, etc. I'm going to go and select all here, so it selects all of them. And what I'm looking for is the RF system type, which has it as an RF network device, which means all of them have that same attribute, which that's what we want. So we can leave that. So those are all good. Clear selection, because you don't want to have the tab selected still. Hit the boundary, and then we're going to, now this time we're going to select all the cables. Once it's done, you'll see the multi-edit button up here. Click that. Now on here, you can see what kind of cables these are. So these look like, these are all your P365 cables right here. This one is your P3 875 cable, and this one is your any power supply 65 cables. So we only have one 875 cable there and one power supply cable. So we'll start with this type. So we can select this guy, and it'll have, and by selecting this, it automatically selects all the ones below it. So if we go to RF system type, it's undefined, which means either it doesn't have a one or they're all different, and that's all bad. So we click that, and we want to change it to RF network device. Now we do know that one of these cables is an express cable, so but it's only one of them. So actually, if you know the footage, of the one, which looks like it's the going to be the 820 foot guy, which was the express cable. Then just hit apply to attach them to all of them, and then you can select this guy. Oh, excuse me, not RF network device. Sorry, it's going to be tapped coaxial cable. So we're going to select the express cable, and that's going to be the untapped, less than or equal to 715. And I just know that by the footage alone. Now what you can do is you can close out of here. You can confirm that by selecting your express cable here, and whoops, clear selection, select this, and then hit edit. And there it is, tapped less than 715. And now these ones should be tapped coax cable. Okay, so now we're going to clear selection, select our boundary again, select, and we can select all passive devices, which is everything other than actives or taps. Go to multi-edit, and we can select all for these, and we just got to make sure, actually in this case, if you look here, this is our power inserter, so that actually is going to be a power device. So we can select that guy, we can go over to our system type, click here, and a power network device. That would be true for a power supply, a power inserter, a power splitter, a power bubble, anything associated to a powered power supplies. Hit apply. Okay, so now we can select these line terminators, which remember if I select this one, it selects all three underneath. Those are already RF network devices, so that's good. Select this, that's already RF network device, so we're good there. Hit close, hit clear selection. Now we're going to select it. And now we can select all tap devices. Go to multi-edit. All tap devices can be selected, and they are already at RF network device. Now you can also change the construction status on all these. So if you click this and you're as-builting it, you can click that and change it to constructed. But you got to make sure that when you do that, you draft your line, your boundary, specifically around that. So that can get a little tricky. So close, and that's it. Now if you end up adding a lot of actives, then you would go and select that and select all your actives. But in this case, there's only one. But I'll go and hit edit, and since there's only one, open up to an individual one. I go to RF, and it is an RF network device. You can also create, if you ever, like, for whatever reason you needed to select one, and this is a great tool to use if you want to do a whole node or an entire hub. These are really powerful tools.